holy expletive. It was definitely holy expletive. I was like, oh no, what am I going to do?
My first response when I heard that I was going to have a blind or visually impaired student, my very first response was sort of fear. I was concerned about how accommodating that student's needs would affect the learning of the other students. And honestly, I was a little concerned that the student would be somewhat demanding and sort of needy and not very gracious about the effort that was being put into helping him learn.
Oh my God, anatomy and physiology is so visual, especially with our labs, where we've got models and we're pointing what's this, what's that, what's this. And I just felt very overwhelmed and how are we going to do this? How is it going to be equivalent?
I'm going to be sued to within an inch of my life and lose my job. I was confident that I would be needing to do something for my blind student and that I wouldn't know what was needed even though I was expected to do it. And that because of that she would sue me and I would lose my job in the process.
Well, initially it made sense because it is certainly a career that a blind person can do, and there are other blind therapists out there, so I wasn't terribly surprised.
A little nervous because I wasn't sure how much responsibility I was going to have to take and how much was going to be given to me.
I didn't have any idea what to expect, but I didn't have any preconceived notions, and I really kind of didn't have any fear either. I've worked with other types of students. I've had to teach a student that didn't speak any English, so I figured this was going to at least be easier than that.
I guess my main reaction was kind of excitement. Of course, after hearing the wonderful things that your office had to say about Veronica, I was even more excited.
I was nervous. I was filling in unknowns with my fears. So all of the pictures of having to update slides and handouts and online content, I've never done it before, so I didn't know what to expect.
My first reaction, nervous. I was nervous because I never had a blind or visually impaired student. So I didn't know what to do. I really didn't know what to expect.
I was a little apprehensive, I was excited, but I wasn't sure what to do or what it meant for me. So the first thing I did was come meet with you.
You're a little bit anxious at first because you actually have to attend to what you're teaching. You have to think about how you're delivering it, which you haven't always had to do.
I was excited because when I was in college, I was doing volunteer work in blind school, and I had very good experience of blind students. They are smart, they can see what we cannot see with our eyes. Very good memory, very devoted to their work, very focused, they know what they want to do. So I was very excited, but I was a little bit nervous too.
It's not possible. Not for me, it's impossible for them. Because I teach anatomy and physiology, and so much of it is visual. I thought, no, let me go talk to the student, and I guess it's their rep or advisor or something that was going to talk to me about this particular student. I says, I'm going to convince her that's not possible. And I was proven wrong.
Blindness is not really what defines me as a person. It just happens to be another characteristic of who I am.
Dude, I'm not blind. I want to say, dude, I'm not blind. I'm really not blind. You assume I'm blind because I have a cane. Just like I have a guide dog. Everyone assumes because I have a guide dog, I'm blind. It's just the perception that we get as blind students. I'm partially blind, legally blind. I'm totally blind in my left eye. I can see out my right eye.
Anxious, scared, not knowing if you're going to be an additional stress to the teacher. So kind of getting a feel of the personality of the teacher.
First day of class for me, every semester, like she said, is very hectic because everybody's trying to find out where they're supposed to go, and I'm all in the crowd, and that bothers me. You know, I have issues being in crowds. So trying to figure out, okay, should I say something? Should I wait? When is he going to talk to me? Or whatever the case may be. And then once I get into class and everything gets settled, I was like, okay, maybe I just wait till after class because he's, you know, started class and I don't want to interrupt. Some teachers some of the instructors that I've had have been very open. Some have actually come up to me before class has started, even though, you know, before class has started, and say, I know who you are and we can talk after class. I've had some that have emailed me before class has started to let me know. They have reached out to me before class has started by emailing me.
We have expectations like everybody else does. The fact that I'm visually impaired or blind doesn't mean that I can't do the same classwork that my other classmates are doing. I might have to do it differently, but it can still be accomplished. So I wish that when they see me as a blind student, they don't immediately think, what am I going to do with this student? But actually think, you know, wow, I'm going to be working with a student and we might come out with things that I never knew before. So it could be a way where the student and the instructor can learn from one another and overall help each other grow. Assistive technology, I mean, everybody uses different things. I use JAWS, I use my iPad, I use an app to record my classes. So to me, I just kind of wish that things were more compatible with JAWS. Like, I use Blackboard, and I can get around Blackboard, but it's really hard. It takes longer to be able to upload a paper or download something, because sometimes the Blackboard is not very compatible. Like, they don't work really well together, and there's a lot of things in the screen, so I can get lost. Like, I know a lot of instructors use NC Live. Well, NC Live has a lot in the screen, so when JAWS gets to that screen and my screen reader is trying to read all about it, kind of gets, I don't know, I guess intimidated, and it doesn't do it very well. So it helps, but sometimes if you have too much on your screen, it can really make things go really, really slow. Like I said, I have an iPad. I use my iPad to read my textbooks. I get my textbooks in electronic format, so I put them in my Dropbox, and then I transfer them to an app that I have that's called VoiceStream. And VoiceStream will read the document to me, whether it's a Word or PDF file. So I read a lot of my textbooks with my iPad because it's easier to carry around. I use Braille Note, which is basically a Braille with a display, and I can type my notes or type notes and stuff like that. I use my phone for classes sometimes when I want to record something. I have an app there, and I open it and record my class.
When I first started school, I wasn't technology savvy. Like, I wasn't really into technology even before I lost my sight, because back when I graduated from college and high school, you know, it was more of we read a paper and we turned it in. It wasn't all this Blackboard. You go retrieve your assignments. The teacher give you your assignment, you do it and you turn it in.
JAWS is a screen reading program that's been out for years. They have 16 different versions of it now. And basically it enables a blind or visually or really low vision student or person to access the material that is on a computer screen. if you look at a computer screen, you can look at it and you can see everything that's on it. Where JAWS, it reads you everything through commands, through on the keyboards, through just certain key commands. And you can arrow through stuff, tab through menus. It's all these different little crazy little ins and outs that go into JAWS.
JAWS is a screen reader that would access my computer. It's very helpful, except when we have pictures and graphs, sometimes it can be a little frustrating.
Only bad thing about JAWS is its language. Sometimes it does not pronounce words correctly. So you may think you're learning a definition and you're pronouncing it correctly. In a sense, it's like maybe someone with a different accent. I love JAWS. Only thing I don't like about JAWS is sometimes it freezes up on the course of going in email or Blackboard. JAWS will sometimes block you out, or if it's too many words, it jumbles up and you don't know where to begin or where to end.
At the time where my vision was a little better and I could, was using Zoom text at the time, I wasn't using JAWS. So Zoom text would take me hours and hours and hours to do research. So one day I let her see what I saw. And it was just like, wow. She was like, I see, I understand now.
When I used Braille the most was when I was taking my math classes, because it definitely helped. Math is not one of the subjects you can just like follow with, what's going on. Just by, thinking about it, you kind of have to look at it and do the different steps in Braille, I think. So I use Braille when I'm doing math, or maybe when I'm doing a picture. I use it a lot when I was doing my biology class. Be able to recognize the different patterns, different shapes and stuff like that. So I use it a lot in my science and math classes.
Oh man, I love tactile graphics, man. Man, we have the best tactile graphics maker that I ever seen make tactile graphics for biology, and that lady, she's been doing it for years, and she's brilliant. She is brilliant. Tactiles make our lives so much easier. They enhance graphics for us, raised dots on paper, or it could be bump dots with puffy paint, which you just run over the, you would previously just draw out the graphic sometimes, and then you trace over it, and bam, you have your tactile graph. Sometimes you could use a tiger, and you could put the image on the screen, and it just prints it out and raises it automatically. So tactile graphics are so effective. They really help us really engage, and our fingers are our eyes for us, and they allow us to reintegrate ourselves into the classroom to see what we're missing from our visual sense. We're gaining with how we feel.
I've never known music a day in my life, but Mary at DSS, she put together so many sheets of music and graphics and recordings on the recorder that I can listen to the tunes and the beats, and they was very easy to feel across, because of course a music consists of 5 bars. So she would make a piece of paper, and it would have puff paint, and it would have the 5 bars going straight across the paper, and then it would have the notes where the actual notes belong, whether it was on the 1st bar or the 5th bar, and it was really easy to decode that way.
Blackboard is a pain. I can access it, but it takes me a while. Quizzes in Blackboard can be a pain, because sometimes I will answer a question and it will jump around. So I could be in number 3 and it goes to number 8, and somehow it skips all the other questions. Or sometimes I think I answered all my questions, but it turns out that it didn't check number 3, so I'll have to go back and find that. And I don't understand why Blackboard does that with JAWS. Just like I said, I don't think they're very compatible, so it can jump around from one question to the next, and it takes me a long time to complete a quiz that is like only 10 questions, and it shouldn't take me that long. That's why I typically take them with ESS, because I don't exactly know if I have answered all the questions, even though I know I have. About discussion boards, I did discussion boards when I was taking a summer class, and I had to access them with somebody else, because to find the edit box, I think you have like several edit boxes when you try to go and put in your answer. It like I said, it jumped around, so I wasn't really sure exactly where I needed to start typing. So doing the discussion boards was also another thing that it was really frustrating to me. So I have to sit down with somebody at the disability support office and do them, instead of me trying to go home and spend 2 hours trying to figure out where was the edit box, because the screen reader jumped around and I couldn't figure out where it was. So it was very frustrating.
As far as Blackboard, they'll also post up quizzes or tests, and you open it up and then something will go wrong and it'll block you out, and then it comes up as a 0, and you haven't even had time to, as far as giving JAWS a different command, and it may just shut the whole program down.
Now that I know how to use it after several years, it's a piece of cake. There'll be times where Blackboard just shut down or the screen reader won't read it. But it just depends on how the instructor set the quiz up.
The internet is just really hard, period, because you have to go through so many boxes to even get to the website to be able to go on to the actual website you want.
There's mismarkings on sites sometimes. There's multimedia on sites that we can't really understand. It's poorly designed to where you can't really access the content that's on the page because of the way it's set up. Just things of that nature. Blackboard is pretty accessible. It really is accessible. They've made it to where it's, you can do everything through links, lists. YouTube is really easy. YouTube's not hard. YouTube is full of videos, but you can access the videos. There's a lot of links on. So JAWS operates based off links and headings and tabs and things of that nature. So when you can't have a website. When you have a website that has multimedia images, JAWS can't read that. So like my math lab, JAWS can't read that if it's math, because there's images that come up and JAWS can't read. You can read the questions, but you can't read the videos that correspond with it. I mean, you can't see, if you can't see the videos, you can't understand what's going on.
My math lab is very hard with JAWS. Most of the time in my math lab, you're going to need a sighted person to help you with that. I was in class and we was watching a video, and the people, I guess, was making some kind of funny gestures because the whole class is bust out laughing, and I don't know what's going on. So as far as videos, I think maybe they should be more sensitive, or either give it to us maybe a little ahead of time so we can view it, or give us time to have someone view it with us so that all the parts that we miss out on we'll be able to have access to. Some of them have where maybe you can like get descriptive reading, but again, that's with the choice of the video. You have to make sure that the video is accessible for it.
NC Live is just crap because there's too much stuff on it. With the screen reader, JAWS reads everything. It doesn't edit nothing. It reads everything. So by the time by the time you find what you're looking for, you forgot what you have heard already.
NC Live has a lot, in there, and you have to check a lot of boxes and do this and that. So sometimes you can get lost, and it can take a really long time to find one article you might be looking for. So what I usually do with NC Life, I just go to the library and find somebody to help me there look for an article, because it's much easier. I can't spend 3 hours trying to look for an article in NC Life, and seriously, that's how long it will take me to find something, because NC Life has so much.
Disability service is just not just a group of people who are here just to get a paycheck. These disability support services are people who actually care about their students. They love their students, and they enjoy what they do, and you can tell it in how they interact with their students. They interact with their students in a way that is warming and comforting, and also that it provides better learning about it, because as much as we learn from them, they learn from us. What continues to frustrate, or how they can do something better, or make something better, or more accessible for us. They want to see you succeed as the number one thing. Some of the people, they can, they joke around, they kid around, but when it gets time to get serious, it's serious. They go above and beyond the scope of their job description because they care. And if they didn't care, they wouldn't be here.
Talk to DSS from the very beginning. If you have any concerns about the accommodations that are on the list that you're provided, you should immediately talk to DSS. They're the disability experts, but you are the content experts. And it takes both of you to work together in order to find the best way of presenting the content you deem appropriate and necessary in a manner that works. I didn't realize at first how much of a support they were. And so talking to them should definitely be your first step.
So the first thing I did was come meet with you.
I really didn't know what to do, but I did call DSS, and I did, and Misty Patinelli has been very, very helpful. And she pretty much sat me down and told me what they do for DJ. So I felt extremely supported.
DSS is so helpful here. They will help you with anything, any questions you have. They'll help you with it.
The Disability Support Service was very prepared, very guiding in the situation. I am impressed with DSS, their staff, their degree of professionalism, as well as you made it easier. It really was an easy and acceptable situation. It made me think out of the box. It made me become a better instructor, and I'll never forget all the things I learned.
Don't be afraid to use DSS. Ask lots of questions. The DSS is there to help faculty and there to help students, and so they were not hesitant at all. If I had a need or a hesitation about whether or not something was screen readable or accessible, then I could easily email somebody, my contact there, and ask, and they were very quick.
I also prepare by coming to see DSS. You guys are my buddies.
I was just totally amazed at how prepped everybody was, and how, oh, no big deal. I've done this all the time. I've thought in this situation all the time. But I left the door open. I wanted the student to have the fair shake and to prove it to me. And not only did she succeed, but she overwhelmingly succeeded. But I think most of that's due to the DSS. I think all of you guys are so coordinated and work together so well and are so experienced that to me it's kind of like, you kind of placed me in a seat in coach, and y'all were flying the plane, and I was just going along for the ride. It was just like, it was no big deal at all for me.
I will tell them not to be afraid to approach that student and ask questions, because most of the time we don't mind answering questions, and if we don't know something, we'll figure it out with the disability office. And I think that would be my main thing. Just don't be afraid to ask the student if you don't know.
And we had a lot of openness and honesty. I told her right out, I don't know what I'm doing. And she said, well, I don't know what I'm doing in biology, so between the two of us, we'll learn this together, won't we? You have to be honest with each other, because if you don't have a good rapport, then you don't know if you're getting through, and she doesn't know what you want. So you have to be able to say anything to each other, and you have to be sensitive to each other's feelings and realize that if they say, you know, that didn't work for me, it's not personal. It's just this is what I need to do to have my needs met. Now, some people, you know, just Veronica is an exceptional person. I will say that. Not all people are as good at doing that nicely. There are some people, yes, there are some people that are demanding, and there are some that are difficult to work with. But if you realize that whenever they do ask for something, it's not because you're personally bad. It's because they need something that they didn't get yet, and you have to find a way to do that. And you also have to tell them what your expectations are.
I had a great rapport with DJ. He has a great sense of humor. He likes to cycle. He cycles competitively. I learned that about him quickly. And he has a similar sense of humor to me, so he was able to pick up on my humor in the classroom. All that helped. He felt very comfortable coming to my office hours. He felt very comfortable asking me something during class related to accessibility. He would correct me those times I said this. He would say, what is this? I can't really tell what that is. And so that was very helpful. He reminded me that he needed that extra support, and that was wonderful. And so it's not a surprise to them that you need help communicating with them. Things that are usually visual, they know that that you need help with that.
Make sure that the student is aware that that myself or any other instructor is happy to do whatever it takes to be successful, that we don't have to think of it all. If we provide that avenue of communication where a student feels comfortable to just say, hey, Mr. Nagel, you know, this or that would really help me out a bunch. It's an easy opportunity to connect and say, hey, I'm here, I'm aware of you, I'm glad to meet you, by just saying, okay, welcome to the class. Let me tell you a little bit about the layout of the classroom. We have tables going down either side with an aisle in the middle. Right now, the classroom is fairly empty. Feel free to sit wherever you like. Let me know if there's any way I can be of assistance.
I tried to touch base with her every day, not every day, but every time we had class, whether it was right before class, during class, or directly after class, making sure that she was comfortable and I didn't miss anything and she got what she needed.
Talking to him at the very beginning of the class, and he was very forthcoming himself. Ongoingly just kind of checking in with him, making sure that the information that he was reading, that he was being given was clear. And again, when he didn't get it, he would ask.
Have that talk before you start class, before your first class. I think it's important, because I think that'll help the instructor be comfortable and the student be comfortable with when they need to make clarifications, how to ask questions, what the best timing for asking questions, and also, you know, just setting those ground rules, especially with a service animal. They know what to do, but a lot of times people don't know what to do with service animals. So I just think that's really important. And again, we didn't have any problems.
So it was like teamwork. It's not only me, me, me. I could not have done this work without all this support and team. And students too, like Veronica and Cynthia, they're always, if I ask them to stay after the class, if I ask them to come to my office, they are always there.
Communication, I think, is the biggest key.
Take a deep breath. It is 100% doable. It's going to be just a little extra work in the beginning. It is intimidating, but if you sit back and you look at your material, we're just finding an alternative way of teaching what we teach now.
The greatest challenge really was my own fear. It was because I was afraid of what was happening and didn't discuss my concerns with the student at first. I was afraid that I would say something that would be considered incorrect or rude because of my ignorance of working with a student with a disability. That really put all of the barriers in place. It made me nervous in the classroom. It made it so that I was afraid to speak to the student, and that didn't help me or the student in the class.
It sounds like an insurmountable obstacle, but really there are a lot of really simple things that can be done to make material easy for them to understand. And probably the most important thing for a faculty member to keep in mind is that the student wants to do well. So if you openly communicate about what that student's needs are and do everything in your power to meet them, and when you can't do it, there are plenty of other people that are willing to help you.
I would say don't assume anything. Ask questions of the student. If you feel that that student should, if would feel more comfortable talking about it alone, then do that.
Relax. Don't be afraid to seek help. Don't be afraid to approach the student. Believe it or not, they know they have a disability, especially if they're visually impaired. They're not afraid to talk about it, and they don't want to be given, like you said, exceptions, but they need to be given accommodations. Talk to other faculty members. We have had, all of us have had some of these students. We may have resources already there that we just don't think to share because, once every 3 semesters I may have a visually impaired student. But you don't throw the stuff away, so you still have your resources.
I do think you need to, and this is specific to therapeutic massage, I think a lot of people assume that someone who has not had their sight for most of their life is somehow going to have these phenomenal tactile abilities, and don't make that assumption. The learning process is the same. They may be doing it tactily and with different learning aids, but I don't think it was any shorter or any easier for her to learn what we need to do with our hands and our tactile information. It's still all new. And I think sometimes people will assume that it will somehow be easier or faster. And it wasn't. The student carried right along with her classmates, some, quicker at some things, not as quick at other things, just as any other student would.
I went to my first meeting to convince somebody that there was no way a blind student could succeed in this class. It was just no way, it's too visual. And just to be open-minded and to know that DSS is experienced with this and they'll hold your hand and give you all the help you need. And so be open-minded.
If my instructor told me beforehand that we're going to have a video and they have a description of the video, email it to me so I know what's going to happen in the video, that would be good. Also, if they allow me to maybe have somebody from DSS watch the video with me, so they can describe what's going on, because I understand that if we in class and he's showing a video, he can, stop and describe to me what's going on. So we have to find a way for me to have access before
I had a teacher for communications that was really good. She really made sure I had things as far as ahead of time. She allowed me access by emailing me stuff. She was really conscientious about emailing me stuff ahead of time.
They should they should work as a team player with DSS, provide all the material in advance, provide them textbook, provide your test early so they can create the test for the student on the designated date. Provide your material. If you need help, just contact them and they will be there to help you.
One thing I found very helpful was having a thumb drive dedicated to Veronica. And then if there were handouts or something that I was going to be using in class, I'd simply had them on the thumb drive for her and she could pop it in and participate with the class. Of course, basic things like accessibility. If you're preparing a document for a blind student, you want to make sure that it's going to be kind to the reader, the electronic reader, and that basically involves using true headings and sans serif fonts. But that's very easy to do, just a matter of seconds with any document, really, in Word.
I was in a situation a few years when I was taking a math class. I was presented with graphs that I had never seen before at the same time as everybody else. And it takes me longer to be able to study a graph and look at the data. So doing that is not a good thing because I can't pretend that I'm going to learn this graph within a few minutes. It takes me longer to be able to figure out what the x-axis and the y-axis, have as far as the data. So I will tell the teachers that it's really important for them to get these graphs to the DSS so they can make them accessible for us so I can study the graphs before I go to class.
For the new class, I'd already had a visually impaired student once, so that I knew more of what I was doing. I was also preparing materials for the first time, so I wasn't trying to retrofit. And in that case, I'm not sure it took me any extra time. I really think that it becomes, after you've got a little bit of practice with it, it becomes part of your nature. And so you never adopted those things to begin with, so you don't have to make those changes.
I would take all the materials that we had and I'd pull out any graphics, any things that might not run through JAWS. So we would do that. We'd make everything in Word, which was extremely helpful. And it wasn't that hard to do. For some of the assignments, the students were doing these self-assessments. For those, we had to go and I talked to the publisher, and they actually gave me just hard copies. And then we had to take those, even though they had little radio buttons, we had to take those and just retype them in. It was a little bit of work, but once I had them done, I actually used some of them for other classes. In the online course, we use an online publisher. So I had to go and find comparable resources for her. And they actually did have them at a different site. So she just was directed to that site and could use those resources. And it was the same as what the other students were doing, so the experience was the same. I think one of the things was you just have to think before you actually go to the class how you're going to deliver it. And you have to make sure that they are getting what they need, which is the same as what the students are getting. And it actually, the one thing it did is I actually thought more about the content. You teach some of these courses, like a Business 110, I've taught it 10 times. But now I had to really think about how I was teaching it.
The non-ADA compliant material, we just found alternatives. We found workarounds.
My Aplia was not accessible. It was easy for visually impaired students. I had Kyle and Jessica. They were legally blind, but they can see enlarged stuff. So ILC and Elaine, and they were helping in enlarging it. But blind student cannot work on Aplia. So I have to give them separate assignments. So I have to create my assignments for them for each chapter. And I was choosing the questions that help them to learn the material.
The big thing we had was working with the publisher. and actually talking with them about getting the content to be friendly for accessibility. As far as working with the students, we just dealt with it, and I would find something that was comparable. I would just go online, or I would search for a program or something that they could do that would mirror what they were doing for online. The positive was we did have a real long conversation with one of our publishers, and hopefully in the next few years they're going to be working to get the information they get to us more accessible.
The publisher had a website that wasn't accessible, and so I had some low percentage point quizzes that the sighted students did that I had to give the blind student an alternate testing form, but otherwise it was no big deal. The hardest thing was trying to deal with the publisher, trying to see, and of course they were thinking, oh no, it's fine, they can, and I'm like, no, they can't answer these questions. It's, you know, flash based and all this kind of stuff.
When they used the 3 T's, this, that, and there. This, they say this, and they point to the board like, I know what this is. Or they don't, when they say this, they don't describe what they're saying. Something. They forget that I can't see that well. And they're like, well, there's something you could think about there, but what are you talking about there? There what? Or that. You know, it's just like, those 3 words are the worst 3 words that you can ever tell a blind person. Over there, this, that what? And not say what you're referencing to.
This is a technique that's good for teaching strategy anyway. Using words that reinforce things that students are looking at. You're addressing multiple modes of sensory contact, and it's just helpful for students, sighted or blind, to hear things that describe the pictures. And that was sufficient for my student. Using words like increasing instead of pointing, or saying what I'm referring to and instead of using the word this or that. That's ambiguous and not helpful in general. So that was very helpful for me. I grew as an instructor, adjusting my language in the classroom.
I made a comment one day, something to the effect of, so when you see this, you know, yada, da, 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 da. And all of a sudden I hear this little voice go, see what? It was just in the middle. Oh, I guess I need to be more descriptive there.
If you're writing on the board, the student can't see that, so you have to talk as you're writing, which that was something I normally didn't do. And so I had to keep reminding myself to keep talking.
Another thing that I found that I used a lot was the simple act of spelling words out. You know, you write it on the board and you assume they can see it and copy it, but if someone can't see, you know, it doesn't hurt to take 2 seconds and spell complicated words out so that they can be more clearly understood. I found that there were a lot of moments where I would say something and the way that it would be sort of communicated to my visually impaired student was more phonetic than accurately spelled, and so I simply started spelling everything out as I went along, and it seemed to make a big difference.
The whole course is visual. Well, the content in lecture, it made me pause every once in a while, thinking normally I would just be talking about the screen without even pointing to it because the visual students could just look at it as I'm talking. And this time I had to really think about better descriptor words, more adjectives, more locations, including information that was automatically there, but if the person couldn't see, they wouldn't know that it's there. So instead of like the descriptors of like what the heart looks like and the chambers of the heart, I had to be a little bit more specific about location in the body, which again would be in the textbook, would be in the PowerPoint slides, but I would have to just include that verbal description. So in a way, I just think it made me pause, but it made me become a better instructor.
We use playing cards a lot, so things like a king of spades. If I show one on the screen, then everyone can tell it's a king of spades, and unless I say it's a king of spades, then the blind student can't tell it's a king of spades. I actually found a deck of Braille playing cards I was able to obtain and let the student use during class, and he loved those, and it was very helpful. And anytime I dealt with a deck of cards, which is, for a couple of weeks we used them a whole lot, he was able to use that.
In a music class, we have a lot of very specific visual things, notes and rests and clefs and things like that. And it was difficult to try to figure out how to explain what these things looked like, or what, how one would encounter them. And honestly, I have still never seen Braille music notation. I know it exists, but I've never seen it. So I wasn't sure how useful that information was going to be for this specific student. But as I went through each symbol that the students were going to need to know, I would draw it on the board and I would ask the other students to describe what it looked like. And so I got the input of the other students to sort of describe the visual elements of these things and turned it into sort of a conversation more than, mandates from on high. There were a few instances where I showed videos in class, particularly of operas, where I wanted the students to have an idea of how the music and the staging and the costuming and all of those things went together. And so while I showed those videos, I sat down with the student while it was playing and kind of gave a cursory description of what was happening on the stage. And then when the video was over, I said, okay, class, what do you see? What did you see happening on the stage? So again, I was using the class to sort of amplify the descriptive elements of the visual parts of the course. And it worked out really, really well. There was one symbol that we simply couldn't figure out a way to verbally describe, and that's the quarter rest, which is a very weird looking little thing. And so I asked my student, can I use your finger? And he held his finger out like a pencil, and I drew it. And then I said, can you show me what it would look like? And he repeated the motion, and he totally understood. So it worked out really nicely. It was sort of a spur of the moment decision to do that, and I don't normally touch my students.
There were a number of things models and things that I built to make them tactile. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. I'm an artsy craftsy sort of person, I guess. And so I took all kinds of miscellaneous craft junk and recyclables and made them into things that Veronica would be able to use and understand. And it really did work. She did very well in the course, and after Bio 110, she decided to take me again for Bio 140, and so I had her again in environmental biology. And that one was even harder because it wasn't quite as concrete, although there was a lot more discussion of current events and things like that. But the things that needed to be tactile took a little bit more imagination.
Mr. Petty, he was my political science instructor. He's makes the class so much fun. It's probably one of the reasons why I want to go into political science, because he's been doing so well. He makes the class very interactive, so we all get the chance to talk in that class, and I like to talk, so that always works for me.
She laughs at my jokes more than anybody else, and she sits in the front row, so it's great to have a plant right there in the front row. The impact on the other students was just priceless. Having them see the challenges that she overcame, that she turned her work in on time, and if she can do it, if she gave a terrific presentation, she was clearly prepared. She was just a great role model to the other students. It's really rewarding. It was really scary to think about it. I remember when I was notified that I was going to have somebody in the next semester for my first time, I was really worried. I was really worried that I would be able to do it, and I had no idea what to do. And it, after a few weeks, it became, I don't want to say second nature. It's not that it was easy, but it was really rewarding. Just getting a chance to work with that student and to understand what their challenges were, and then to improve my own teaching for everybody.
I do an exercise the first day of spring semester because we've been away on break for a couple of weeks to get them back into their tactile senses. I have the class do a blindfold massage. Well, you know, the blind student has been working this way all year, so I asked the blind student, well, do you have any recommendations for your classmates now that they're going to be doing a blindfold massage? And she paused for a moment and said, be careful where you touch. And the class just burst out laughing. Because of course they get that that's the way she'd been working all semester, and they were feeling all challenged and nervous and so forth. And it's like, okay, set us back and let us think about this. It was great.
I was like, I'm forgetting this, and they worked with me. I'm forgetting this, or forgot to bring this slip in, but they bared with it. And now I'm here to this point about to graduate, and they're like, you've come a long way. But I've only come a long way because of people like you guys pouring your time into me and believing in me and making things accessible to me and allow me to help me adapt. You guys have helped me adapt to the point where I can succeed.
Overall, I've had a very good experience at Wake Tech. I'm just glad and proud to say that I'm a student at Wake Tech.
Most blind students in the classroom will be just a really nice asset, a secondary learning opportunity for a lot of students in the class, just like most of our students are. I mean, that's the wonderful thing about Wake Tech is our wonderful diversity, whether it's geographical, racial, gender, age, and this is just another part of that mix, and it's really nice to have yet another perspective.
Personally rewarding knowing that I can do it, that it is possible. I was very nervous in the very beginning saying, how am I going to achieve this? How can I help this student? But knowing that I can do it and not necessarily catering everything to the visually impaired student, but making sure that I at least reach, you know, my visually impaired students. That's the best thing for me and for them as well, because it's all about student success for me.
I started making other things and started to realize that not just blind students were benefiting from all of the tactiles and manipulatives that I was making. Students who have other disabilities such as dyslexia, when they have trouble reading, if you have some of these tactiles and manipulatives that they can work with, you also should use them for those. And so I'm finding that almost everything I've done has had multiple uses.
The blind student was actually helping the sighted students learn because of how many questions she asked and the perspective she had. She would usually draw a crowd around her and Sheila, and they would form a study group.
I've learned so much about the way that I teach by having this student. I was able to really not stop and ponder every word that I spoke, but I just became a lot more cognizant of the language that I use and the materials that I put in front of a student and the way that I kind of portray myself and the students and the material, just because suddenly there was this element that I had always sort of taken for granted, and not having it accessible to everyone really made me very cognizant of it. And I think I've grown a lot as a teacher as a result of the experience of teaching.
For me, I think I really rethought about the content, what I was teaching, how I was delivering it. Was realizing that the quality and caliber of work that the blind student turned in was just as good, even sometimes better than some of the other work I got. And I think for my class, or for the whole class, it really benefited everybody because she, especially in my seated class, she was willing for us to use her as an example to understand concepts, you know, because the real world, you are going to have people who cannot hear, you are going to have people that need assistance to walk, you are going to have people who are visually impaired, you are going to have people that are going to have cognitive disabilities. They're all going to be working for you, and you can't ignore them and you can't deny them equal place in the workforce. So she was able to give us a lot of things in the classroom that were very positive. So, and a blind student is no different than the rest of us.
It's hard to choose one best thing, but the teacher in me will lean towards how she inspired everybody else in the classroom. I heard on a number of occasions, and the other students thought they were being quiet, and I know it didn't offend Veronica, but other students would say, well, there's a blind student and she understands it. If she can get it, then we can do it too. And I saw other students who would see her struggling and pick herself up, and Veronica would do the work. And there were many occasions when the other students would pick themselves up and work a little bit harder too, especially when they had to do group work. And students who aren't used to working with a blind student would try and explain it in a slightly different way so they could help her understand. I believe that their attempts at explaining it differently helped them understand better.
Some of the tricks that we learned with Lisa work with the sighted students. And it's even helped, in classes where we don't have a blind student. It's helped me develop as a better instructor. So I would not be intimidated. I'd be excited. Oh my gosh, here we go. And what new ways can I learn how to teach this material and have more students be successful? The best thing about teaching Lisa, having Lisa as a student, was interacting with her, seeing her light up when she got the tough material. Near the end, I think she was hovering around a high B, and it was like, well, is she going to make an A or not? Is she or not? She certainly worked enough for an A, and you hope that the exams are fair and fairly, assessing student learning. And when the final came and she did just as well and she got that A, we rejoiced right along with her. One of the best things about having Lisa as a student was during graduation, when she got called up and she walked across that stage with her dog, and tears came, and it's like, that's my student, and I helped her be successful, and I know she's leaving here and she's got a job already, and she's being successful as a massage therapist, and I was part of that. That was rewarding.